sometimes you don't need to know what's coming to know you need strength. Sometimes you don't need to see the enemy to know a war is waging. You ever felt it in your bones before the storm ever came? That deep, unsettling tug in your spirit, like something's about to shake, something's about to shift, and you don't even know where it's coming from. You can't put your finger on it, but you know something is moving in the shadows. And when that happens, what do? You stand. You show up even when fear tries to keep you seated. You wipe your tears even when you're not sure why they're falling. You walk by faith, not because it feels good, but because your spirit knows what your eyes can't yet see. There are battles being fought right now on your behalf, right in the middle of your silence, your struggle, your sighs, right in the space between your prayers and your breakthrough. Somebody is lifting the weight you didn't even know was crushing you. Somebody is clearing paths, shutting mouths, exposing lies, and building bridges in your favor. And that's why you didn't lose your mind when they walked away. That's why you didn't drown when the waters rose. That's why you're still breathing, still fighting, still here, even when here doesn't look anything like you imagined. You ever been in a moment where everything looked fine, but you knew deep down there was more going on? Where people smile in your face, but you feel the undercurrent of jealousy, doubt, betrayal? You don't always see the snake, but you feel the hiss. And in those moments when your natural eyes are blind to the plot, your spirit stands guard. Because you were never meant to fight this on your own. There is a covering on your life that doesn't clock out when you fall asleep. A force that goes before you, behind you, and beside you. One that doesn't need you to have all the answers. Just the faith to trust that answers exist. One that understands that even the strongest warriors need rest. You've been carrying things that weren't yours to carry. Worry that was never your portion. Fear that didn't belong to your bloodline. Shame that had no right to sit on your shoulders, and yet you held it anyway because you thought strength meant doing it all alone. But real strength is surrender. Real courage is letting go of the illusion that control means protection. Real faith is whispering, I don't see it, but I believe it, and taking one more step. You don't have to see the fire to know it's hot. You don't have to see the wind to know it's moving. And you don't have to see every battle to know victory is still yours. Your job is not to know how the fight will be won. Your job is to keep showing up like it already is. That peace you feel, that's not accidental. That joy in the middle of chaos, that's not luck. That door that opened when everything was locked tight, that's not coincidence. You've got something covering you, protecting you. You're not just surviving random attacks, you're walking through a divinely orchestrated plan, one that recognizes that your future is too great, your purpose too powerful to be left unguarded. Some of the most dangerous battles are the ones we don't see, the ones that creep in quietly. Doubt, insecurity, comparison, you know what I'm talking about. That little voice that tells you you're not good enough, that you're too late, that you missed your moment. But here's the truth. The fact that you're still here means the fight isn't over and the victory hasn't passed you by. It's just being prepared in silence. You may not see the battlefield, but you feel the pressure, the tension of growth, the resistance of elevation, the discomfort of being stretched into something greater. And sometimes it's hard to trust when you can't trace what's happening, but you don't need evidence to trust the promise. You've been asking for clarity. You've been asking for signs. You've been asking, what's next? But maybe the answer isn't in the plan. Maybe the answer is in the posture. Maybe the breakthrough isn't coming in the form of explanation, but in the form of peace. Peace in the waiting, peace in the not knowing, peace in the trusting. Because the battle isn't always in the battlefield. Sometimes it's in the heart, sometimes it's in the mind, sometimes it's in the quiet moments when nobody's watching but your soul is crying, when you smile at the world but you're fighting for your life behind closed doors. But here's what I want you to remember. You are not alone in this. You are not crazy for feeling the unseen. You are not weak because you want to give up. You are not losing just because you're tired. Rest if you need to, but don't stop. Breathe, cry, pray, but don't quit, because everything that's trying to break you has already been broken. Everything that's trying to silence you has already lost its voice. Everything coming against you is just confirming that you're a threat. You're not being attacked because you're weak. You're being attacked because you're powerful, because you carry weight in rooms you haven't even entered yet, because your name is being mentioned in circles you didn't apply to, because your presence is shaking foundations you haven't even touched, and that's why it's being handled. Even the things you don't know about, even the words spoken in rooms behind your back, even the plans that were meant to trap you, even the hands that tried to hold you down. Every unseen weapon is already being dismantled. Every unseen lie is already being exposed. Every unseen storm is already being calmed. You just keep walking, keep believing, keep growing, keep healing. Don't let the darkness fool you into forgetting who you are. Don't let the silence convince you that nothing's moving. Don't let the delay tell you that it's denial. You are covered. You are chosen. You are protected. And even when you can't see the fight, victory is already yours. You don't always need to see the fight to know that you're in one. And just because your hands aren't swinging doesn't mean the battle isn't being won on your behalf. Victory is being secured even in battles you cannot see. That truth will carry you when your eyes can't make sense of what's going on. It will hold you up when your mind is racing and your heart is heavy. There's a battle behind the scenes, in the spiritual, in the emotional, in the places you can't touch or measure, but the outcome is already being determined in your favor. Sometimes you wake up feeling heavy and you can't explain it. You go through your day sensing resistance, confusion, or emotional fatigue, and there's no clear reason. That's often the evidence of something unseen being worked out on your behalf, something trying to form against you but being intercepted before it ever reaches your space. There are whispers you'll never hear, attacks you'll never witness, and situations you'll never even know you avoided. But they were real and they were handled. Your protection isn't limited to what you can see. The grace covering your life works overtime in places you'll never access. This is why some people left your life and you never knew the reason. Why some opportunities fell through only for something better to align itself. Why certain connections faded before they could get too close to your purpose. Those weren't accidents. They were victories, quiet ones, gentle ones, unseen ones. You didn't witness the fight, but you're living in the results of it. And this kind of victory doesn't always come with applause. It doesn't always feel like a celebration. Sometimes it feels like confusion, like something you wanted didn't work out, like doors closing and silence echoing. But if you look back, if you pause long enough to trace the patterns, you'll realize you were being kept from heartbreak, kept from wrong paths, kept from sabotage disguised as support. The unseen battle is real, and so is the unseen win. And here's the truth most people won't say out loud. You don't have to feel victorious to be victorious. You can still be questioning, still be healing, still be unsure, and still be winning. Because winning isn't always loud. It's not always a moment. Sometimes it's a process, a slow unfolding of grace, strategy, and alignment. There are moves being made right now to protect you from things you don't even know are coming, conversations being redirected, accidents being avoided, traps being dismantled, all without your awareness, and yet you get to walk forward like nothing ever tried to come against you. That's the kind of protection you carry. That's the level of divine strategy working for you. So stop thinking that because you can't see it, it's not happening. Stop believing that stillness means nothing is shifting. Some of your greatest victories will come with no spotlight, no announcement, no validation, just peace. Just a quiet knowing in your spirit that you've been carried through another war you didn't even know you were in. When you live from that truth, fear loses its grip. You stop needing to have all the answers. You stop being anxious about what's next because you know there's a covering, a force, a protection that fights battles before they ever touch your door. You are not unguarded. You are not vulnerable. You are not exposed. You are victorious. Even now, even here, even when you don't see it. You don't have to arrive for your presence to be felt. There's something about you, something on your life that makes waves before you even speak a word. You're a threat not because of where you are, but because of where you're going. Because your presence carries weight. It carries purpose. It carries authority that can't be faked and can't be copied. And when you walk into a room, even quietly, the atmosphere shifts. That's not arrogance, it's alignment. There are places you haven't even stepped into yet that are already being stirred because your name has entered the conversation. You're being discussed in rooms you didn't apply to. Your spirit is speaking louder than your resume. That's what happens when your calling is bigger than your credentials. You carry something divine, something disruptive, something that challenges mediocrity and exposes pretenders. And you've felt it, haven't you? The tension in spaces where no one said a word, but everything felt off. The strange stares, the weird energy, the forced conversations. You haven't done anything, but something about your light irritates their darkness. Something about your confidence confronts their insecurity. You didn't ask to be a threat. You were born one. Born with something in your DNA that rattles cages and shakes foundations. You wonder why certain people pulled away, why they suddenly changed, why doors that should have opened stayed shut. It's not because you're not enough. It's because you're too much for the environment you've outgrown. Your presence disturbs what's stagnant. Your purpose agitates comfort zones. You're not the problem. You're the revelation of the problem. Your mere existence challenges anything not built in truth. Sometimes the resistance is confirmation. Confirmation that your energy is making impact before your actions ever do. That you're being positioned for elevation, and anything that can't survive the altitude is falling off now. It hurts, yes. It's lonely, yes, but it's also necessary. You can't carry that kind of weight and expect to be universally accepted. You can't bring fire and not expect things to burn. There's a reason your name keeps coming up, a reason people you don't even know seem to have opinions, a reason you're met with resistance when all you wanted was peace. You carry influence, and influence isn't always welcomed by those addicted to control. You shine without trying, and people who rely on performance can't handle authenticity. You don't just walk into rooms, you shift them. Don't downplay your presence to make others comfortable. Don't shrink to fit into spaces that can't hold your purpose. You weren't created to blend in. You weren't called to be silent in rooms you were meant to lead. If your presence shakes things, let it shake. If it stirs hearts, let them stir. You're not doing too much, you're just stepping into who you've always been. Sometimes the battle isn't in what you're doing, it's in what your presence exposes. You don't need a microphone to be heard. You don't need a platform to be seen. When purpose is on you, rooms can sense it, spirits can feel it, resistance will meet it, but none of it can stop it. Your presence is prophetic. It announces things you haven't said yet. It confirms things others haven't admitted yet. And it disrupts things that were comfortable staying hidden. That's why you must keep showing up even when it's uncomfortable. Keep walking in rooms like you belong, because you do. Keep speaking truth even when voices try to drown you out. You're not just present, you're powerful. And your presence is preparing the way for everything connected to your calling. We've been taught that strength looks like holding everything together, like never letting them see you cry, like keeping your head high no matter how heavy your heart feels. We've been conditioned to believe that control is the key to survival. If I can just manage it, fix it, direct it, then I can protect myself. But the truth is, real strength is surrender. Real power isn't in holding on tighter. It's in knowing when to let go. Surrender doesn't mean weakness. It doesn't mean giving up. It means releasing the illusion that you're in charge of everything. It means accepting that you were never designed to carry the full weight of what life throws at you. It's recognizing that trying to control every outcome, every person, every possibility will only leave you exhausted and empty. Control is heavy, it's draining, and it will deceive you into thinking you're safe when all you're doing is surviving. There comes a moment when you realize that your strength isn't measured by how much you can endure, but by how much you're willing to release. That moment when you say, I don't have the answers, I don't know what's next, but I trust that something greater than me is working this out. That's not defeat, that's divine alignment. That's you stepping into the rhythm of faith. That's you choosing peace over pressure. And yes, it's scary to surrender, especially when you've been hurt before. When you've had to be your own protector, your own provider, your own lifeline. When life taught you that if you don't hold it down, it'll all fall apart. But hear this, just because you had to fight alone doesn't mean you always have to. Just because you were the strong one doesn't mean you don't deserve rest. You can be powerful and still need help. You can be wise and still not know everything. You can be called and still feel afraid. Surrender is a bold move. It takes courage to admit that your way isn't working. It takes humility to say, I need help. And it takes trust to believe that letting go won't lead to disaster. But here's the miracle. When you release control, your hands become free to receive. You've been gripping so tight that you haven't had room for the new. You've been managing so much that your soul hasn't had space to breathe. Letting go is how the healing starts. It's how the breakthrough finds you. It's how clarity arrives. The more you try to control, the more anxious you become. The more you try to fix, the more overwhelmed you feel. But when you surrender, something shifts. The pressure lifts, the fog clears, and suddenly things begin to fall into place, not because you forced them, but because you finally let them flow. Surrender teaches you that not everything needs your intervention. Not every battle is yours to fight. Not every storm requires your strength. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is fall to your knees and whisper, I release this. Sometimes the wisest thing you can do is step back and say, I trust the process. That's where true strength is born, not in domination, but in faith. You don't have to be in control to be secure. You don't have to have all the answers to be aligned, and you definitely don't have to carry it all to be enough. What you need is already working for you. What's meant for you won't pass you, and what's ahead of you is far greater than anything you're clinging to out of fear. So breathe, surrender, and let strength rise from the stillness. Peace in the waiting is one of the most misunderstood blessings we can receive. We've been taught that waiting means nothing is happening, that silence is a sign of absence, that stillness means we've been forgotten. But sometimes the greatest strategy is hidden in the quiet. Sometimes the most powerful move is the one you don't see yet. Peace in the waiting isn't a sign of delay, it's a sign of divine preparation. There's a kind of peace that doesn't make sense. A peace that shows up in the middle of unanswered questions. A peace that finds you when life feels uncertain and unstable. That peace isn't passive, it's powerful. It means that even though the situation hasn't changed, you have. It means the chaos around you hasn't shaken the calm within you. And that kind of peace is a sign that strategy is unfolding behind the scenes. Waiting doesn't mean you're being punished. It means something is being positioned. It means that what's for you is being prepared in such a way that when it arrives, it won't be halfway, rushed, or incomplete. It'll be whole, it'll be right, and it'll be worth the stillness you had to endure to receive it. Because the waiting season is not wasted time. It's where strength is built, clarity is gained, and your spirit is refined. You don't always need movement to prove that something is happening. Sometimes it's in the quiet seasons that the most transformation takes place. You're being stretched, molded, refined, not because things aren't working, but because they're working exactly the way they're supposed to. You are becoming, you are aligning, and peace is your evidence that peace is not denial. It's not pretending that you don't care or that things aren't hard. It's knowing that even in the unknown, you are anchored. That even if the answer hasn't come yet, you are still held. Peace is the choice to rest while the strategy unfolds, to breathe when your plans are paused, to trust when the map is blank. That kind of peace is a gift, but it's also a discipline. It's a choice you make every single day to lean into trust instead of fear, into faith instead of control. We often look for signs and confirmations, trying to calculate every next step. But the truth is, peace is the confirmation. If you can sleep in the middle of the storm, that's your proof. If you can smile while you wait, that's your confirmation. If you can worship while questions linger, that's your sign. Peace is not the absence of waiting. It's the presence of trust in the middle of it. What if the waiting isn't about the outcome, but about who you're becoming in the process? What if the real miracle isn't the door that's about to open, but the strength you gained while it was closed? That quiet resolve in your spirit, that deeper wisdom in your heart, that stronger voice in your chest, that's the strategy of the waiting season. It's not just about arrival, it's about development. Sometimes peace in the waiting is the very thing that protects you from running ahead of the plan. It stops you from settling. It keeps you from moving out of panic. Because when you're at peace, you don't chase, you don't beg, you don't manipulate, you trust. You walk with boldness. You carry yourself like the outcome is already handled. Because in a way, it is. So even if you're still waiting, even if things haven't unfolded yet, that peace you feel, that's strategy. That's the preparation for something you can't see but are absolutely being aligned for. And in that stillness, you're not falling behind. You're being positioned to receive more than you imagine. You are not as alone as it sometimes feels. The silence around you can be loud, especially when you're walking through seasons where everything seems uncertain, where prayers feel unanswered, where doors aren't opening and people don't seem to notice your struggle. But just because it's quiet doesn't mean you're uncovered. Just because you don't see movement doesn't mean there isn't action. Your fight is being covered in silence. The battles that would have broken you are being handled, shielded, and redirected before they ever reach your doorstep. We're used to associating protection with presence. We want to see who's defending us. We want to feel the reinforcement, but sometimes the most powerful form of covering doesn't come with noise or visibility. It comes in silence. It shows up in the unseen moments where peace meets panic. It shows up in the way certain things never reach you, not because they weren't formed, but because they were stopped, canceled, silenced. That's protection, and it didn't need your permission to work. There are moments in your life where you thought you were just lucky something didn't go wrong. You thought it was coincidence when the timing shifted. You thought it was just your decision-making that kept you safe. But what if you knew there were forces working in the background? What if you understood that your silence wasn't a sign of abandonment, but of divine activity, that your cry didn't go unnoticed? It was just met with quiet action, not loud reassurance. You don't need the whole world to know your fight. You don't even need the people closest to you to understand it. Sometimes the most powerful victories happen in private, in the sacred spaces of your heart where no one else can reach, where the cries you whispered were caught and carried by something higher than you. That kind of fight is deeply personal, and though it may not make headlines, it changes everything. The silence is not empty. It's full of movement, full of shift, full of rearrangements that are happening just for you. What you thought was stagnation was actually strategy. What felt like delay was really protection. And what you labeled as loneliness was sacred isolation. A pulling back, not to break you, but to build you without distraction. You may not have the full picture, but that doesn't mean the covering isn't real. You are being held in the kind of strength that doesn't need to be proven to be effective. You are being surrounded by grace so deeply embedded into your story that you won't fully recognize it until you look back and realize, that could have destroyed me, but it did. That should have broken me, but I came out stronger. That's what being covered in silence looks like. It's in those moments when your spirit is weary and your hands feel empty that you have to remind yourself, I'm not alone. I'm not unprotected. I'm not forgotten. There's a hedge around my life that no enemy can cross without permission. And even if I don't hear the war being fought for me, I will see the results in my peace and my protection in the way I keep surviving what was designed to take me out. You may not be able to explain how you made it through some things. You may not even have words for how you stayed sane when life was trying to tear you apart. But that's the proof right there. You made it. You're still here. That's the evidence of a fight you didn't have to fight alone. You were covered. You were kept. And the silence was never a void. It was the sound of strategy. There are certain battles you don't even realize you're in until you start to feel the weight of resistance in the atmosphere. You walk into places and suddenly feel tension that wasn't there before. You speak with clarity and are met with confusion. You try to move forward and encounter doors that look open but won't budge. That's not coincidence, that's confirmation. Unseen attacks confirm the weight of your purpose. They are proof that what you carry is valuable, that who you are becoming poses a threat to the systems, mindsets, and patterns trying to keep you small. You don't have to be doing anything wrong to be under attack. Sometimes the attack comes simply because you're doing something right, because you've chosen healing, because you've chosen growth, because you're finally starting to believe in yourself again after years of doubt and delay. The enemy isn't targeting your present. He's targeting your potential. He sees what's coming before you do. He senses the shift before you feel it, and he knows that if you keep going, keep rising, keep speaking, everything changes. You may not have seen the attack coming, but your spirit felt it. The sudden discouragement, the unexplained exhaustion, the wave of insecurity that hit you out of nowhere. It wasn't just you, it was warfare trying to wear you out before you reach the next level. Because if it can't stop your purpose, it will try to drain your passion. If it can't silence your voice, it will try to cloud your clarity. That's how you know you're close to something. The pressure increases right before the breakthrough. And here's what's powerful. You're still standing despite the emotional weight, despite the spiritual distractions, despite the temptation to give up and walk away. You're still here, still breathing, still rising, still showing up in rooms that were designed to make you question yourself. That resilience, that's not accidental. That's the evidence that you were built for what's coming. You don't have to see every detail of the attack to know that you were preserved for the promise. The unseen attacks are confirmation that your influence is growing, even when you don't feel it, that your name is being mentioned in rooms you haven't entered yet, that your obedience is shaking things in the unseen realm. You are a disruptor, a light bearer, a purpose pusher. And that's not something darkness lets rise without a fight. But here's the truth. Resistance reveals destiny. It shows you what you're carrying, not what you're lacking. So don't internalize the opposition. Don't question your worth just because the journey feels heavy. Don't shrink back just because you feel like you're under pressure. The pressure isn't a punishment, it's preparation. It's making room in you for what's coming. It's refining your discernment, strengthening your endurance, stretching your faith. The attack didn't come to define you, it came to shape you, to teach you how to fight differently, think deeper, move wiser. Even when you can't see the source, you can recognize the pattern. And when you see the pattern, you can shift your posture. You stop reacting out of fear and start responding from power. You stop asking why me and start declaring because I'm called, because I'm chosen, because there's something on my life that requires covering, strategy, and grace. You don't have to understand every unseen attack to trust that they're already being handled. You don't have to retaliate to know you're being defended. The weight you feel isn't meant to crush you. It's evidence that you carry something heavy, something sacred, something that matters. So keep moving even in the mystery. Keep standing even in the silence. The unseen may be real, but so is the victory that's already been written with your name on it. You've walked through fire that didn't burn you, endured silence that didn't break you, and carried a weight that should have crushed you. But look at you, still rising, still pressing, still believing, not because you saw the battle, but because you trusted in something greater working behind the scenes. The truth is, the real fight was never about what you could see. It was always about trusting what you couldn't. Every closed door, every delayed promise, every unseen attack was building you, shaping you, and preparing you for a victory your eyes weren't ready for. But your spirit always knew was coming. You weren't built for comfort. You were built for calling. You weren't meant to fight every battle. Some of them were meant to pass over you because your name was already marked for protection. And while others questioned your strength, heaven confirmed your purpose. So now you walk differently, not because you're fearless, but because you're faithful. You speak differently, not from pride, but from power. You move not in reaction, but in revelation, knowing that every battle you didn't even see was already being handled. This is your reminder. You don't have to see the fight to know you're being fought for. You don't have to feel the strategy to know you're being led. You just have to trust. Trust that you're covered, trust that you're called, and trust that even now, especially now, the victory is yours.